What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, it's been a couple days. My face is healing up. I don't look like I was in a bar fight, so that's one.
There you go. Hey,
when's
your next fight? Did your manager schedule the next fight yet?
You know, I got to take some time off to heal up, but I'll be back out there in the ring in no time. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. That game got surprisingly dramatic. I didn't see that drama coming really from Indiana. But of course, OKC, as they often do, hit you with the run that ultimately ended it, man. So they're in good shape here as we all travel back to Indiana today.
Yeah, so we actually, the last time we did a show was before Game 4, and the Pacers are up 2-1. So Game 4 happens, and that was Indiana's chance. I thought Indiana played them more than even, outplayed them, and it all fell apart very quickly in Game 4 in the fourth quarter. And it was the opposite of what we've been seeing in these Indiana games where they're the team that comes back. They lose control of the rope, and so it goes back to Oklahoma City. And it already felt like Pacers had missed their opportunity. Last night, the Thunder controlled most parts of the game, but Indiana did the thing they always do, which was made it uncomfortable in the fourth quarter. Cut it down, I think, to 5 points at one point. Got it really, really tough, but every time they got it close, the Thunder came up with not just one play, but multiple plays in a row to make so that it was so backbreaking. 5 points, all of a sudden 11 points in 30 seconds. And to me, that was the story of the game. The Pacers couldn't get over the hump, and the Thunder made big plays when it mattered. What do you think?
Two huge plays in the game at that point. Well, first of all, how does Indiana even get back in it? It really was TJ McConnell more than anybody that sparked them. Siakam was great throughout the games. TJ McConnell was incredible in the third quarter. Just continues to amaze how productive he is as a scorer when he needs to be. And they just whittle away at that thing. And let me just tell you, being in the building, what I was saying before the game was if you're Indiana, just be within striking distance in the fourth. Yep. And the anxiety will be present. Everybody's going to feel that. It'll be palpable in the air what this is going to mean. And you felt it, because they were cruising. I mean, they were cruising. They looked great. Jalen Williams was playing out of his mind. Shea looked great. They were making threes, which they had a game in which they made 3 of them the other night. So everything was rolling. Their defense was dominant. Haliburton, wasn't doing anything. And then all of a sudden you look up and it's like, what just happened? It's a 2-point game. Pascal Siakam hits a 3 and it's a 2-point game. But after that, there were 2 threes in a 3-possession span that really, to me, ended it and got separation. Yep. The first was Jalen Williams, and the angle first behind him when he let that ball go, there's no way that ball ended up in the rim. It was drifting so far right, and I was expecting it to hit like the right side of the rim and kick off to the right. Somehow that thing found just inside the right edge of the rim. It goes in, and then I think Indiana got a couple free throws, but then very next possession, Dort hits a 3. Off a penetration by Shea when he got loose at the top. They didn't contain him on the trap. He gets down the lane. Haliburton comes running off the Dort to help in the lane. They kick it out. Simple pitch and catch, and they're up 8. And I thought that calmed everybody down. You're a 2-point game, and then all of a sudden it's a 3-possession game.
Yep.
That to me settled everybody in. And then their defense from that point on was really what was the difference. They just kept forcing turnovers. Got out and ran, and they got a comfortable lead. They didn't have to sweat it out the last couple minutes of the game. But I give Indiana a lot of credit because there was a lot of things that, to me, are unsurvivable for them. Really any one of which. But they had like 4 of them on the same night, and they were still in a 1-possession game with 10 minutes to go. So give them credit. They fight, man. You got to kill them to put them away. And last night, OKC did. They killed them when they had to in that last 8-9 minutes.
And you're right, because blowing a lead and then figuring out how to win after that is one of the toughest things, in my opinion, to do in basketball. And that's what they did. They dominated the entire game. And then you look up and you're up 2 points in the fourth quarter. And that a lot of teams will get tight in those moments. But to your point, it was big shot making that first fueled it. And then it was the defense that carried it home. But the play, I want to go to the play you're talking about. And you did a touchscreen on this last night with Van Pelt. We have been talking about this since game one. I think from before game one, that the number one thing you cannot allow Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is to jump the wrong way on a pick and roll. You have to dictate which way they're going. And we talk, Oklahoma City sets those flat screens and then they release, they make it difficult on you, but you can't let them get loose. And that was a play of Nembhard just getting on the wrong side, allowing a downhill drive for Shai. And it was basic basketball. So they did a great job to come back to it. But at the end, they kind of died in this game because of the one thing that we have both identified as being the most important thing you can't allow Oklahoma City to get.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're right. I did a touchscreen on it because it was, and they had a lot of issues with this early in the series. They got better. Game two, they were so much better on this. But it's simple. You can't square them up and play them honest. And that's what Nembhard was. He was in his position, perfectly squared up on him, 5-6 feet of space between him and Shai. Here comes the screener sprinting after the top of the key. Nesmith was the guy defending him. Nesmith was ready to run out and jump early, and he was going to be an early hedge, maybe even a blitz, maybe a switch. You could probably switch that with those two guys, and he was ready. But the problem is Nembhard got kind of sucked into Shai hit him with an inside-out dribble. He made him think he was going left, which is where Nesmith was going to be, but then he came right back to his right hand. So what happens when you do that and you've got a plan of containment and you allow him to go around that to the opposite side, in all essence, you put two guys out of the play. And that's what he did. So now here he comes down the lane. Now you got a tough decision. Toppin and Haliburton are the two guys on that side of the floor. If Haliburton stays with Dort, Toppin's going to have to step up. He's on the baseline. He's going to have to step up. And look, that may be a better option, truthfully, because the guy that was down there was Caruso. So you throw a bounce pass to Caruso, and for a layup, it's a 6'5" guy. Maybe Toppin can help and then recover and contest it, but you're probably giving up a layup. Yeah. And if Toppin stays with Caruso, that means Haliburton has to stop the penetration, which is exactly what he did. And you made the easiest pass on the court available to Shai, which is the kick out to the same side you're driving. I mean, anybody in the building can make that pass. He did it. Dort just catches it wide open, hits that three. And there you go. Just like that, it's an 8-point game. And I thought that was the one. That was the one that felt like, man, no matter what, we fought all the way back, and now we're back down 8 again. It was just 2 a second ago. I thought that was the biggest play in the game psychologically for Oklahoma City.
Well, we made it 10 minutes in, and we haven't mentioned what is probably the headline, how did Oklahoma City get this win? And it was, of course, the J-Dub game. 40 points, career high in the playoffs, 40 points. And he was incredible in this game. And I think here's where I want to start. I want to start in a weird direction. One of the things that Oklahoma City did different in games 4 and 5 is they went back to their starting lineup with 2 bigs. And I kind of wonder if, so much attention goes to Shai. And when you play the 5 out, which is 1 big, the ball's going to be in his hands even more. And he's going to try to dribble attack. This is how the game started for J-Dub in the first quarter, legs. Dunk, layup, dunk, dunk, layup. 3 of those came off of cuts that Hartenstein assisted on to him. And I just wonder if their style with 2 bigs lends the ball to get out of Shai's hands a little bit more and also just allows J-Dub to get those plays. And then if you get 5 straight plays at the rim to start the game, you're in rhythm. That's what happened. So what do you think? Did the 2 big lineup kind of tilt things back to J-Dub and allow for him to be a bigger part of the offense?
Well, I totally agree that first of all, you and I don't know if you felt the same way I did. The versatility of the 2 players, Holmgren and Hartenstein, to me, lent itself to just sticking with what you do and make them have a problem on the other end. Now, Hartenstein's really been almost a non-factor offensively as a scorer. You always talk about him releasing the doves right on that soft floater. I haven't always seen it in this series, man. I mean, he's just not really getting any opportunities to score for whatever reason. But but still they put pressure on you when they're out there together because that lob threat is always there between them. Hartenstein's a great passer in the middle of the floor. Couple times he had it more down toward the baseline when Williams made those cuts. So I do think his passing and the threat of the big to big pass is made them cautious, and it allowed these cutting lanes to be open because you were bodying up Hartenstein with the ball, you're bodying up Chet off the ball on the baseline. So there's this big wide gap for guys to cut down the lane, and Jalen Williams took advantage of it. I agree with you. First of all, look, I think he's answered a lot of questions in this series and throughout the playoffs, really. I think people were still wondering, is that like enough of a number 2 guy? I think he's answering a lot of those questions. So he was already sort of ascending and cementing himself on that level. This one last night, that just pounded the gavel on what the guy is. But it all started because of the easy shots he got. I mean, any great player, you want to give a guy's layup and dunks the first 6 minutes of the game. Yeah, they're good, man. They're good to go now. Like, the ball's gone in. They're feeling good. They know they're not going to have a donut night. You know, they're okay, good. I got 6, 8 on the board, man. This is great. I haven't even taken a jump shot, and I've got 8 points. Like, that's a great feeling for a scorer to have. And then the rest was history. He just kept it up the entire game. It felt like he was 14 for 25, which is a great night in any game, especially a finals game. It felt like he missed 11 shots. It felt like he didn't miss anything. Like, all of his drives ended up at the bottom of the net. He made every drive, it felt like. So I don't even know where those 11 shots came in that he missed. But regardless, man, that's just a sensational night. Huge stage to do that on. And a lot of people maybe that were watching that aren't familiar with Oklahoma City, they're certainly familiar with Jalen Williams now.
Why is it that layups get a player going everywhere else on the court? I mean, one thing I think his touch around the rim was incredible in this game. And he has these scoop shots that he's been hitting to, you know, and he had a couple last night where he just gets the ball in front of you so you can't catch up to him. And he just has incredible touch on some tough, like high off the window shots. But getting layups and stuff, it's almost like you absorb subconsciously the tempo and rhythm of the game when you're able to get to the rim. And that's just what it felt like. He gets those, and all of a sudden he's playing in the perfect tempo on everything he did.
Yeah, that's a great question, you know, and I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question directly, right? Like, specifically, because we talk about it all the time.
Like, it's
he's
true
good to go
inherently.
Now. Or how many times we talked about a guy that's really struggling, and then he gets fouled, and he makes a free throw. You're like, oh, okay, he should be good to go now. Like, it's really weird if you think about it. Layups and dunks should have no correlation to shooting a 20-foot contested.
Exactly.
Okay, but it does, and it does because every player at the beginning of a game, like, this is especially true of starters. Like, at the beginning, like, obviously they're out there, and there's a nervous energy that every player has. All 10 guys. Okay, Shea's is probably a little bit less. Like, his pulse is probably similar to what it is all the time. But everybody else, like, you've got a little bit of a heart rate going, like, because you want to make sure you're imprinting the game. There, I got my fingerprints on it. I'm in there now. I'm in the box score. Like, I'm out here playing. So even getting something simple as a layup or a dunk, just psychologically, you feel like, okay, you can then feel a little bit more empowered to maybe take a couple tough shots, and those go in because you've already got 4 on the board. I'm already 2 for 2. I'm 3 for 3. Well, now, you know what? I'm going to go take this 19-foot contested shot because I'm already rolling a little bit. And really, that's what it is. It releases that nervous energy that, you know, on every night you could get what Haliburton had last night, a goose egg in the shots made column. Like, that could happen to any player on any night. Once you get some easy ones, you just feel like now you could take more risks with your game. And that is what really opens it up for you. And that's what kind of the second quarter was for him, was a lot of difficult shots. You're right about those runners, those angled shots that he takes, and he goes down either direction off the lane, and he jumps, and then he makes these really tough bank shots. He had 3 or 4 of those in the game as well. And he obviously, from the beginning of that game, when he got those easy ones, you just saw it in his eyes. He didn't feel like there was anybody on the floor that could stay in front of him. And he was the best player on the court. And I said there were 4 things that are not survivable for Indiana if they happen in a game. First is, we'll start with that one since you just brought it up. They can't survive if Jalen Williams is the best offensive player in the game. for Oklahoma City because you know Shea's going to get 30.
Right.
So if Jalen Williams is better than that, did you see that the number last night? What they scored or assisted on? It was 103 points between them. It's the most in the last 50 years in the NBA Finals. Two players to combine or assist for 103 points, scoring and assist. And it's the most in 50 years. So if he plays that well, you can't win if you're Indiana. You can't win a game, much less the series, because you know Shea's going to do his thing regardless.
And he had the 3-point shot working as well. He had everything going. And you know what he really had going was the power. His power game was working in this one because he had a lot of finishes through contact. Some could have been called fouls, but just a lot of like beat with quickness, get to the rim and finish with power. And that's just, I mean, that's what makes him such an intriguing player. And I've heard people making this argument today, and I think it's accurate, that Shea is ready to be, at the level to carry this team. But what makes the Thunder scary going forward is J-Dub has this in him, this upside in him, but he's not quite there yet. But when he is there, and if this becomes consistent, then they just become almost impossible to stop. A second option that has 40-point potential in him. And by the way, Lakes, he played 36 minutes last night. That's another underrated thing about the Thunder. Usually if a guy gets 40 in a playoff game, it's because they played 40, 41, 42 minutes. 36 minutes is regular season minutes, and he gets 40 points.
Yeah, because they played 78 minutes off their bench. Four guys. Kendrick Williams, who's been playing a little bit more. He played almost 11 minutes. And, of course, you had Cason Wallace, Wiggins, and Caruso. And Wiggins played really well again last night. I don't understand the nights that he doesn't play much. It's the weirdest thing. And Mark Daigneault told me during the season, he just gave him so much praise because he said he'll take whatever I throw at him in terms of role or minutes or whatever. And part of me is thinking like, well, why are you throwing stuff at him? He seems like a pretty darn good player. Like, why does he not get consistent minutes every night? He started for a while for them when they had some injuries, and then he's back on the bench. And then some nights, he plays 10 minutes. Some nights he plays 25. He's always ready, but that guy can flat out score. He gave them a nice punch last night as well in the first half, helped them get that separation. But the story was definitely Jalen Williams. There was just no answer for him. They felt like they did a decent job on Shea. He got to the line a ton, but he was only 9 for 21. If you do that and keep Jalen Williams to a normal night, even if he plays well, and you do that to Shea, you've got a really good chance to beat them.
Yeah.
Because Shea was subpar, really, in terms of efficiency, but you can't keep him fairly well contained and then have another guy on their team light you up like that. And that's why, listen, man, that's why they're the best team in the league. And they had it all clicking last night. They let it get away a little bit there with that run Indiana made. It was a little bit of nervousness there in the building because now you're thinking, oh my goodness, they come back and win this game. They can get closed out on the road. And what if they win this game and Tyrese Haliburton looks like that? What message does that send going back to Indianapolis? But look, none of those things happened. They took control over the last stretch there, and they actually won without having to sweat it out at the end.
We have a segment I want to do here, a sponsored segment by FanDuel that is our X Factor shout out of the game. And this is, of course, powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So I want to go here now because I think you've made this point a lot about why are they playing Cason Wallace, who had not hit a three-pointer in the finals until last night, over Aaron Wiggins, who has had some more upside punch. Well, last night they both did. They made 7 out of 11 threes. And so to me, the shout out / X factor of this game, J-Dub was incredible. He's too good to be an X factor. Shea was still really good. We're going to get to him in a second. He still did a lot of really impactful things. But to me, it was those two guys making shots when they did early, but also Cason Wallace late at some pivotal moments. Those two guys, when they make your shots, man, it canceled out the 43 points you got from Indiana's bench. So what did you see from those? It was as simple as they just made their shots tonight, and that's what you needed from them?
Yeah, basically, they're going to get those looks because of what Indiana has to do to contain Shea. They're going to and contain the bigs. They have to play around the lane defensively. So those opportunities are going to be there. What happened in Game 4? I mean, that was like a middle school box score. 3 made threes and 10 assists. It's like, you got to be kidding me. You won that game? Like, that's what I'm sitting there thinking after the game. When they make their threes, they get comfortable separation. And that's really what happened. So that leads us to second thing that is not survivable for Indiana. I said to you previewing the series, the 3-point differential on a given night needs to be around 3 or 4. Indiana has to make 3 or 4 more than Oklahoma City because they're going to need that against this team because the shots will be there against OKC. The way they flood to the lane, there are 3-point shots to be had. Now, a lot of them are contested because they fly out at you to get a hand up, but you're going to have to make your share. And when they don't, very tough to win. So they made 11 out of 30, 36%. It's not a terrible night. It's just not loud enough. They have to be louder from the 3. And obviously Haliburton not making any really hurts. I mean, normally he's going to be good for 2 or 3 of those. So now you're up to 13, 14. There you go. And if he were able to do that, who knows? Maybe it's a different game. That's how important the 3-point shooting is in this series. Oklahoma City doesn't take a ton. They shoot a decent percentage when they do. And they were 14 for 32, 43%. It was a massive X factor in the game. Wallace and Wiggins are going to get the shots. Wallace has not played well offensively at all in this series. He finally did. And now here's Wiggins with 2 games in which he was a major factor offensively for them.
Yeah. Do you want to go over the other 2? So, you've gone through 2. You said there was 4 things. What were the other 2 things? Just, do you remember off the top of the head?
The other 2 are
turnovers.
The other 2 are the turnovers, man. And it's not even just the turnovers because look at game 1. They won had that 19 at halftime, but they were still in the game because they weren't converting. Oklahoma City didn't turn those into cash, right? So that's not what happened last night. It looked like Oklahoma City all year when they bully teams. 23 turnovers led to 32 points. So those are 23 possessions in which you don't even get an attempt. Okay, that's 4, 2 to 3 points per possession that you have the opportunity. Obviously, you're not scoring in all those, but it's an opportunity. You never even got it. So now not only do they not allow you a shot on those possessions, they turn it into 32 points going the other way. I describe that for Oklahoma City. If you can avoid doing that, it's like cutting off a food supply to them. They need those points off of turnovers. They thrive off of it. So that can't happen. And since the first half of game 1, it's been better. Like they're not, the turnover numbers are always going to be up against this team, but they haven't been getting killed going the other direction. Last night, that wasn't the case. It was a track meet. You can't survive that, obviously. And then the 4th one.
Well, hold up. Before you get to the 4th one, I want to talk about these turnovers because when we talk about Indiana closed the gap and then the Thunder found a way, to survive it, the turnovers that they had at those moments in the 4th quarter, and it wasn't just one run, it was like 2 or 3 runs where the Pacers closed the gap, Thunder, they all came off of horrible turnovers. Not just the kind of like, man, what a great play by the defense, this or that. Bad passes, and the one that stands out the most, I thought Nembhard was really rough in the clutch of this game, but the one that was really tough is where him and Haliburton just not on the same page, and he throws right as Haliburton cuts to go back door, he throws the pass. I can't remember who it was that intercepted it, went the distance. Those plays are a killer. So those turnovers, it's like not all turnovers are equal. Live ball turnovers are worse. Live ball turnovers that lead to a wide open run out, that's the worst you could have. And they felt like they had those for every single one. Right when they got the game close, they had the worst type of turnover.
Yeah, no, they did. And there's another one I'll point out. I like the one you just said. Do you remember the play? It was an 8-point game. I don't have my notes. I don't think. Do I have? Yeah. Okay, I do. So it was 105-97. Still time left.
Yeah.
And they had a play where they ran some ball screen. OKC defended it well, and then it looked like Nembhard had an open 3. Dort closed out really hard. Nembhard goes by him down the lane. Jalen Williams is guarding a big underneath. He steps up, and Shea was on that side of the floor, and he totally stunted like he was going to drop down and take the pass to the big and leave the kick out 3. He just stunted and immediately jumped into that passing lane, and Nembhard threw it right to him. And then he got a 3-point play going the other direction. An and one going the other way in the open floor. And that was the final dagger. Because, listen, if Nembhard shoots the 3, first of all, Dort was like, he closed out hard, but he was still like, it was a long distance to cover. Nembhard could have shot the ball. He makes that. It's a 5-point game. Instead, they don't even get a shot, and it's 3 the other way. Now it's 11. That was it. that was the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, was that play. So you're right. And look, a lot of it had to do with the fact that Tyrese Haliburton couldn't go by anybody. And it was obvious to everybody. He wasn't going to flip this switch. And like, oh, you know what? I know he's had a rough night, but it's still Tyrese Haliburton. He can make magic happen here in the last few minutes. It wasn't even about that. It was about the guy's not even trying to go by anyone. He literally was a non-factor on that end of the floor. So to me, it's like maybe the first mistake Carlisle's made. I would have kept TJ McConnell in the game. I would have gone back to Haliburton.
Okay.
In the beginning of the fourth quarter. TJ McConnell just played the best quarter of his career in the third quarter. Cut the lead. You go back to Haliburton. I get it. Okay, one last try here. One last attempt here, Tyrese. Are you going to give us anything? He goes back in the game. It was 3 possessions. Anybody could see it. He's clearly not right. Even the look on his face, you could just see he knew he probably shouldn't be out there, but was he going to beg out of a finals game? He'd get crushed. So he continues to try to play through it. But if you're Rick Carlisle, you go, you know what? This is just not helping us. And what if you further exacerbate whatever this issue is? Now he's done for game 6. So I would have gone back to McConnell pretty quickly. You know what, Tyrese? Listen, you're just not right. You're gonna have to sit down. I can't risk you getting hurt, and we need some punch right now offensively because he was a complete non-entity out there. So it's the one thing I think Carlisle made a mistake with, and I don't think it's even controversial to say that because you could see Haliburton wasn't going to be able to get it going. Man. Physically. I'm not sure what exactly is wrong. He wouldn't talk about it after the game. Nobody was because again, these star players, man, you bring up anything and people act like you're making an excuse. So I kind of feel for them because you're really feeling something, tightness in your calf, whatever it is, quad, hammy, groin. You can't go full tilt because you could tear something and you could be gone. And so guys are out to sort of 75%ing it, a leg and a half, trying to play basketball at that level against that defense. You can't do it, Adam. So they should have made the decision to get him off the floor, go with the guy that's healthy, that played exceptionally well in the third quarter. But Rick Carlisle did address it. He said, no, he's my guy. I still thought he could make plays. And, he's done so much for us in these games in the postseason. I get all that, man. That's fine. But that's not a reason to stay married to an idea on a given night. He wasn't going to be able to do it. Not last night.
I want to push back on this because to me, this seems kind of crazy, but I want to push back on it. But let's take a break. Let's take a break. I gotta digest. I gotta get ready for this one, man, because I understand it, and I'm curious what the chat thinks here because there's still another game to be played, and I have a feeling that question's going to come up. So we're going to talk about how much do you rely on Haliburton, how much do you go away from it if he's not 100% healthy. We'll do that on the other side. First, NBA playoffs are wrapping up, and there's no better time to experience the intensity in person, whether you're trying to catch your favorite team live or just looking for the best deals on live event tickets like concerts. Let us tell you about our friends at Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats is the best place to get your tickets for any game or show. They have the best selection of seats, 100% buyer guarantee, and they're the only ticket marketplace that rewards you for every purchase. For a limited time, our listeners can use promo code ALLNBA30 to receive $30 off their first Vivid Seat purchase of $300 or more. Just click on the link in the show notes or download the Vivid Seats app and use that promo code ALLNBA30 for $30 off of your first purchase of $300 or more. When it comes to playoff hoops, being there is all that matters, so experience it live with Vivid Seats. Also want to tell you guys about Monarch Money. Finances can be messy and confusing. Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app, although it is also that. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. Don't just manage your money, start building wealth with 50% off your first year for our listeners. You can start managing your finances is to build the life you actually want. Keep track of your investments. It was named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 five-star reviews. It takes a lot of the stress out of managing your accounts. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code ALLNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off of your first year at Monarch Money with code ALLNBA. All right, we are back here, segment 2, me and Tim Legler. We're doing this live. The rest of the week, we're here every single week. We'll be talking draft later on. tomorrow's show, we are going to get into that Orlando Magic trade season. Legs, we're in this weird, the NBA, I don't know. I don't love this, but we're in this weird thing where this year has not yet wrapped up, yet next year is already shaping up with some of the trades. It's such a bizarre thing. I can't imagine a trade happening the week of the Super Bowl, like in the NFL, for example. But yet here we are, and next year is already shaping up. I don't want to get too deep into it, but do you think it's as weird as I do?
What specifically? What?
So the big Desmond Bain trade, like there was the big trade that's already
that it happened when it did. You mean?
Yeah, just that it happened when the finals are not even over yet.
Well, yeah, it's kind of weird because it's a major acquisition, and it just kind of like slips through the cracks because of everything else we're talking about. Yeah, so I agree with you. It's kind of unusual for that to take place at that time.
But going back here, though, because I just want to get back to the Haliburton thing, it is clear that he's not healthy. You brought up the injury concern, which I hadn't even really considered, but I should have, because it is like a calf thing, right? Like it is and we just saw, I mean, I want to knock on wood, people are going to get mad, but we just saw in the Celtics series, calf strain turned into something bigger. And so that has to be in Haliburton's mind. But you are advocating for the idea that if he plays as poorly in game 6 as he did in this one, TJ McConnell was very effective, that you might actually bench your guy, your cornerstone piece. And it's not personal. It's just, hey, if you're not yourself, then we have to go with who's effective. To me, it does feel a little bit like waving the white flag, though. I think that's a very tough line to straddle. So you can't.
No. You're dead wrong about this. Nobody would have thought that last night. Not for a one-off situation.
So bad,
it can be explained away after the game. Look, he just wasn't right. It was obvious he wasn't right. We're not even talking about a guy that didn't play well. He couldn't move. Like he couldn't go around anybody. And even go watch how short amount of time he had the ball when he did touch it.
Yeah.
Because he could have gotten jammed up on a trap. He was not going to be able to escape. He couldn't turn the corner, could not get downhill. He had a couple of really awkward attempts on drives that were like he was practically falling down just to throw something up at the rim. It was so obvious that he's not himself. It's not even a matter of the guy struggling. If he's moving well and he's 0 for 12 in that situation and looks normal, I'm riding with Tyrese Haliburton all day long. He couldn't play. TJ McConnell was living in the lane. They couldn't keep the guy out of the paint. And you're within arm's reach. You did all that work to get back into it. And like I said, I'd go back to Haliburton for that last time and take a look.
Just to see,
man. Like, does he come off a ball screen and like they go under and he pops a three and you're like, okay, maybe he's got enough to make some plays. It was so obvious to everybody he wasn't going to be able to do that. So you have a justification. It's not even controversial, in my opinion. After the game, Rick, can you tell us about what happened with Tyrese there and you decided not to play him in the fourth quarter? Yeah, he didn't look right. And I'm concerned not only trying to win the game, and he was just not able to play like his normal self. I was also worried going forward. What if it gets worse and now we don't have him for game 6? I was trying to win the game. TJ was great. I just had to give our team the best chance to win tonight. And the way Tyrese looked physically, nobody's going to be, this isn't like, putting in your backup quarterback and everybody's like, oh man, quarterback controversy. No, it's not like that. It's just read the room. He wasn't able to physically affect the game offensively. Go with the guy. Yeah. Look, by the way, if TJ McConnell was completely ineffective in the third quarter, then I probably wouldn't be saying this. The guy they could not contain him. So to me, it was an easy one. It's not controversial. It doesn't have to be anything going forward, but what's wrong with them?
Yeah, he's just not healthy. Yeah, it's not even a personal thing.
So you got 3 days almost, all day today, all day tomorrow, and pretty much all day until tip-off to try to get this thing straight. No one really knows. It's just lower leg tightness. I mean, I don't even know what that means.
That's scary though, man. It's so scary.
Yeah, it is. It is because you can't accelerate as a player. You can't push off. You can't accelerate because you're worried. You're literally worried. And he came out of the game the first half, Adam. and he was sitting on the bench, and they zoomed in on him, and he was like just sitting there staring at the floor while the game was going on, sitting on the bench. And I know exactly what he was thinking. Man, I cannot believe this is happening to me, but I can't go full throttle.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't go full throttle, man, he's easy to deal with. He's easy to deal with. If he's not
Yeah.
playing with that frenetic tempo, you can deal with Tyrese Haliburton. And so for me, like I said, I don't think that's controversial at all. I think would have been an easy decision for me if I was in that position.
Well, here's the thing you said that I do agree with is that you gave him the shot in the fourth. It's not that you just benched him in the entire second half. You put him out there, and it was pretty obvious right away. Because sometimes a guy who's battling an injury can muster it up for 6 minutes, like played through it for 6 minutes and just get it out. It was clear that was not going to happen. And then that would be the point. And there's ripple effects. The thing that's tough about Haliburton is there's ripple effects. He puts pressure on you, so you're nervous. Everything else kind of falls behind it. When he's not putting pressure on you, he wasn't going to shoot. He wasn't going to get to the rim. He wasn't going to do any of those things. Then that's when the turnovers happen because now you're not getting the defense scrambling. You're forcing passes. And then other guys, I thought Nembhard was really tough in the clutch. But to your point, it's easier to guard Nembhard when you don't have to worry about Haliburton. So all these things are ripple effects. But now the question becomes, I don't think this gets better by Thursday. Cap straight, he's been dealing with it for a while. So now if you're the Pacers, how do you win game 6 without, if you don't have a fully healthy Haliburton?
Well, I mean, it's going to have to be a game where if he's hobbled, limited, I don't think there's any chance he doesn't play. If he finished this game, he's going to play. It's not going to get worse over the next 3 days. And he was able to play 34 minutes like that. So he'll attempt it. If he's similarly limited, first of all, I don't think they will win the game. But what's it going to take? I mean, it's going to take Pascal Siakam's going to probably have to have 35. You're going to need to make a bunch of threes, but without Haliburton, that becomes much harder because he's the guy that creates the tempo, that creates the extension of your defense, that leads to other stuff for guys. So that's going to be tough to pull off. And they're going to have to basically win the game with your defense. That's how they'd have to win it. I guess they might be looking at this going, listen, Jalen Williams had 40 points. Shea had 31 points. They made 14 threes. Tyrese Haliburton didn't have a field goal, and we were down 2. We were down 2 with 10 minutes left or whatever it was, 8 minutes, whatever that time was. Maybe that's one way to look at it. So if we tighten up our defense, because basically they played without Tyrese Haliburton last night. Let's just put it out there. They played without him. So if that's the case, tighten up your defense on Williams, like make him a little bit more of a priority. But the problem with that is that, okay, well, that's less attention for Shea. That's why these guys are so good, man. Because Jalen Williams down on that level, like you give him this kind of coverage, he's got these straight line dribble drives, he's going to kill you. So that's how, Adam, I guess you win it with your defense, and Indiana is capable. They're a very good defensive team. So this is probably the strategy going forward. Go D up, contain that guy better, and keep it to a lower scoring game if Haliburton's limited.
Well, here's one question I have for you, and this is sort of a podcasty question, but I actually think there's some legs to it. Does J-Dub now have any shot at Finals MVP? Because Shea was great in this last game. We barely talked about Shea, but he had 31 points, 10 assists, 4 blocks, 3 steals. That stat line had not been put up. It's only been put up by 2 players in the Finals. Akeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson. Hilarious that a point guard put up a stat line that's only been done by those 2 guys. But he was phenomenal. It's not like he had a bad game. He had an A game as well. It's just that J-Dub had an outlier one. But he's now had a couple good games in a row. He's been good throughout the whole series, but it's getting better as it goes. J-Dub has a dominant game 6, and Shea is good again. I mean, Shea's so consistent. Does he have a chance at winning Finals MVP?
All right, I don't have I left my iPad across the room. I don't want to go get it, so I don't have the series numbers in front of me. So Shea's now at 3 30-point games, correct?
Yeah, and on the playoffs, there was a number here. I can't remember what it is. I think 15 30-point games for the playoffs, which is just insane. But yes, in this one.
But it's only this series that matters. He's had 3 of those, and I'm not sure what he had in the other 2 games.
I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah, give me what Shea's numbers are and Jalen Williams' numbers are. Like,
So
scoring
he has
average.
had four 30-point
Oh,
games. His
4.
low in this series is 24. He had 24, 8, and 4 in game 3, the game they lost.
So what's he
So,
averaging?
I mean,
About
yeah.
32, 33
Yeah, that's
for
what
the
it looks
series?
like. Probably a little bit more than that. Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be tough. I don't even know. Like, first of all, something would have to happen like that's unimaginable. Like Shea goes for
Yeah.
like 6 points in game 6,
He
and they
has to have a
lose.
bad game.
Yeah, and they lose to extend it another game. I think Jalen Williams would have to have the series extended to a 7th game, and he'd have to outplay Shea in both of the
Yeah.
next 2. Then you'd have a real discussion on your hands if that were to happen. Because even if he outplays him in game 6, let's say Jalen Williams goes for 33 points in game 6 and Shea has like 24, and they win
Yeah.
and it's over. I don't know that that's enough. He's like closing the gap. He's trying to run him down in the home stretch, right? But he can't quite get there. If you give him a 7th game and he does it again, so he finishes the series with a 40, a 33, and like a
Yeah.
35 to close the series out and they win it. Yeah, now we got a conversation. But based on the fact that Shea's got 4, and it just seems easy for him to get to 30. It doesn't seem like he's
Yeah.
super taxed to get to 30.
Yeah.
So Shea might drop another 30 or 2 before this is over with and get it. But I love your point because the fact that it's a conversation
Yeah.
tells you
It's
how
kind
well
of a
Jalen Williams has
conversation.
played. Yeah, we're making it one. You know, it's like you know what I mean? Like it's like when you say he's in the conversation. Yeah, because we
Yeah.
just said it. Now he's in the conversation. Right. We just did that ourselves. So, but no, the fact, all right, put it this way. The fact that it's not like insane.
Yeah.
That's my point, I guess. It's not where
Yeah.
you just immediately, oh no, like, wow, lay out the scenario I just gave. I don't think that'll happen. He outplays Shea 2 more times. But no, I think Shea's probably got his hands around it. And he's probably going to get it if he just has normal nights for him, regardless of what Jalen Williams does.
I think what works for J-Dub is that his best 2 games were these last 2, 4 and 5, and they were the pivotal games, right? Game 4 obviously swung it. This game 5 put him in the driver's seat. So that's what's working in his favor. What's working for Shea is 2 things. One, game 4, he was not good until he was great. At the very end, I mean, it's tough to have a rough game and then come up clutch, and he came up clutch like 7 times in a row in that game 4. And that was the defining, as much as game 4 was the defining game, the fourth quarter of game 4. This is what has been so impressive about Shea this entire playoffs. The guy is a metronome. He scores 30 every game, and then you give different looks. Every team's a different look. And then game 1 to game 2, you mix up your coverage. We're going to emphasize this. We just talked about this top of the show, the 2 bigs. Does that help J-Dub? Everything helps Shea. Anything you do, he's like, okay, well, I can do this here. I'm going to get to this spot or that spot. He's so consistent. And that really is like maybe the defining trait is that he's consistently very good. 32 points, just every single game.
And I'm going to put one more point on it now that we hash it out like this and why he's going to win it kind of regardless of what happens, assuming, you know, he doesn't just completely fall off the edge offensively, which he won't. And this goes back to the point I made, and I might have this written on my tombstone when I'm gone, if that's how much I believe in what I'm about to say. The year that Andre Iguodala won Finals MVP, the part that the voters, and there's only a handful of people that vote for that, the part that they missed, because I know that Iguodala played well offensively in that series, meaning he basically made some threes, which was not his strength, right?
Yeah.
He was off the ball on the weak side, but he guarded LeBron, and LeBron still averaged like almost 40 in that series, but he was not efficient in doing it. And they changed. Remember, that's the series they put him in the starting lineup halfway through the series, and it kind of changed things for the Warriors. So you add it all up, he gets it. But the one thing that people did not account for, and I just saw a comment, somebody alluded to this with Shea. It's true. In that series, every single ball screen or dribble handoff that Steph Curry was involved in, every one of them, he took 2 defenders with him. And he wasn't just like immediately giving it up so that the guy that caught it wasn't in a great spot because they could close back to him. He was dragging those guys 15, 20 feet, 2 guys chasing him on a blitz. Then he was reversing the ball, and Draymond Green, Iguodala, and whoever else was on the weak side, and they picked them apart. Point being, the gravitational pull that great players have should matter. the reason the game looks so easy for some of these guys off of the stars is because of what they're doing. And it's not showing up necessarily as an assist. It's not showing up as points for that star. It's the right play to make, and it's so impactful to what they're doing to the defense that the other guys have it easy. And so Shea has a similar effect, not quite to the extent of Curry, because the shooting range extends you so far with multiple defenders with Curry. It's really, it's just impossible to corral him if they're playing a certain way. Shea does it too, though. Shea has so many guys loaded up toward him that those kickouts and the ball reversals, even though it might not be something directly for him, Adam, it leads to something great for somebody else. That should matter. It should carry a lot of weight. And that's probably why, regardless of what happens the last 2 games, Shea's already won the finals MVP most likely, assuming they win it.
By the way, I agree with you. It's one of my biggest pet peeves was Andre Iguodala's finals MVP, just because I agree with you that learning how to use your gravity is such an important thing. And okay, Iguodala had a good series, whatever. Steph Curry is the reason that team operates the way that it does. I do think there's something similar in Shea. The difference is Shea, less gravity than Steph. Nobody on earth has as much gravity as Steph. Nobody in the history of the game. But Shea is still somehow finds a way to get to 30 points every single night. That's what's so incredible about him is you're like, oh man, they really overloaded on him. What they hold him to? Oh, 31. Yep. Okay. That still worked. So he's incredible.
14 free throws, which means you're playing against their half court defense, all of those possessions. So that's another impact. And he found time to get 10 assists. Deadly, man, combination. I mean, the number says it's itself, man. 103 points scoring or assisting. 103 between 2 players. Incredible.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up this analysis of Game 5 as we get ready to head towards Indiana for Game 6? When are you going? When do you travel? Is it today that you get to Indiana?
As soon as I say goodbye and I hear the music, I'm out the door. That's when I'm traveling. I literally am going right to the airport as soon as we get done. And I fly. I got a 2:00 flight. It's tough. I got a 2-hour layover in Houston. Think about it. I got to go from Oklahoma City to Houston to Indianapolis. I mean, because these are tough airports. They're hard to get direct flights. So, and unfortunately, I'm mad, Adam. I'm mad because I got there earlier. I was going to go see the Indiana Fever play tonight. I've never seen Caitlin Clark play in person. I was looking forward to that. I know a group of is going from the NBA. I was going to jump in, but I'll probably just have to catch up with those guys after because I won't even get to the hotel to probably 8:30.
You won't get there in time, man. How about her return? Her first game back the other night. Did you see this? 6 of 8.
Man, those 3 threes she hit. It's oh man.
Is she crazier than Steph Curry? Honestly, Steph Curry has a lot of logo 3. Those 3 she took were so forced.
The third one was 38 feet, and it was 2 people contesting her. I mean, what kind of a zone do you have to be in mentally? I could shoot the hell out of the ball. I don't know what that zone is when you start thinking that's makeable. I don't even know psychologically what that is to do that. What she's done for the game, for the women's game, and just the draw that she is, the entertainment value, man, that she brings. And it's her passing too, even on the nights she doesn't shoot well. She has plenty of those. I mean, she's not always the most efficient, but it doesn't matter because the flair that she has for the game. And again, the gravitational pull that she has and what she makes defenses have to do, man. She's so fun. So the league missed her in that short period of time that she was out. But she made a big splash. But my final thought, you asked me about that. I honestly, this whole thing now, I think Oklahoma City is going to win the series. I mean, I always did. And after it was 2-2, I thought everybody wins at home the rest of the way. That's what I thought would happen. I don't know that Indiana wins at home if Tyrese Haliburton isn't. I don't know if he's going to be 100%. I don't think that's possible, really. Yeah. Do you go from that to 100% in 3 days? I don't think so. So he's limited in some way. But if he's at least impactful, maybe they have a chance. They're in the game in the fourth quarter. Maybe they pull one out and they come back to Oklahoma City for Game 7. I think most likely scenario is that OKC, if he's limited, OKC takes care of business on Thursday night.
Well, cue that outro music there, James. This is a great show. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We do have shows the rest of the week. We're going to start looking ahead to the draft. We are going to break down that Orlando Magic trade. So if you wanted to hear us break down the Memphis-Orlando move, we will do that on tomorrow's show. And that deserves its own full segment because it's such a fascinating trade. So we'll get into that. Maybe have some guests later in the week. Make sure you're subscribed, not just on YouTube, but also on wherever you get your podcast platform so you can listen to us on the go. Hit that like button for us on the way out. We'll see you tomorrow.